I really think that I've been so lucky with my journey because the reason I I wanted to turn the freelance career into an agency is because I want this all this time that I've invested in building this side career. I want it to last when when I'm uh, when I'm able to really continue my medical career. So that's kind of the idea behind the not the idea, the motivation behind having an agency is that, I because if I stay as a freelancer, then when I'm working at a hospital, I'm not going to be able to uh, you know uh, have the take anything out of all the 7 years of experience that I have with podcasting. So
Hey, welcome to the Master Delegator podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today I am with Alejandro Girón. He is the founder and CEO of Circle Audio. He's been producing podcasts since 2015, helping entrepreneurs to fuel the content creating machine that podcasts are. He has an amazing team of creatives from all sorts of backgrounds to make sure they can offer you the best service experience. And today I'm so excited because we are going to talk about effective hiring process and how to help your team members or employees do their best work. Now, just to kind of give everyone, a little bit of Alejandro's background, he is originally from Venezuela and he's now living in Spain for 4 years, and he's doing a lot of things right now. And one thing that I'm really curious about is, how he got started with his podcast production agency. Because, if entrepreneurs, they have a lot of ideas in mind, and once you pick something that you're going to do, most oftentimes, that is something that we are passionate about. So I want to know, Alejandro, what got you started and what inspired you. But before that, welcome to the Master Delegator podcast. So yeah, why
yeah,
don't you tell us about what got you into podcast production?
yeah, Kristy, thank you for that introduction, and yeah, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here talking to you. Um, so yeah, the whole podcast production journey really started out of necessity, because as you just tell, I'm from Venezuela, and we've been experiencing a really bad economical crisis there. Well, not only economical, but in various I don't know how to say categories or whatever. But yeah, I was in 2015. I kind of discovered Upwork for the first time. And back then I was in med school. As a disclaimer, I'm a physician, and that's kind of my main profession that I'm still pursuing. Uh, yeah, so it started in back then when I discovered Upwork, and I have also like I'm a like a guitar player and a saxophone player, and I had a band back there, so I had this kind of interest in music production and audio production overall, and I got into Upwork like looking for uh, you know uh, music production gigs, but then I found that there were really not that many, and I started to see a lot of people that needed someone to help with podcast editing, and I said to myself, well, if I can produce music, I can certainly edit a podcast, which is 10 times easier. So yeah, I started with that, and there I got my first few clients, and I wasn't really working that much back then because I was at university. Then in 2017 I finished my uh, studies in medicine, and then by that time, I started to get more serious about the podcast production thing, because I really wanted to go out of Venezuela, and yeah, I was focusing on that, to get, save up enough money to come to Spain and continue my studies here. So yeah, that's the way it started. Fast forward to when I make it to Madrid, I tried to start the agency like 2 years in, when I arrived here, but it wasn't. It didn't go well, because my main issue has always been like getting clients. I really suck at marketing, so it's always been hard for me. And so I was just with a few couple of clients as a freelancer back then. I tried the agency thing for like 2 months. It didn't work out, so I went back to freelancer mode. Did a bunch of stuff, where I have worked in many different things, and this year, like around, I want to say April, I think, I was having a conversation with a client. She's a coach for digital marketing agencies, and she kind of told me like, "Hey, why don't you start? Why don't you start an agency? And you offer a good service. Get a few people to help you." And there was this thing that she told me that was like critical for me taking the decision. And I heard it also from the CEO of another agency I was and still am working at the moment. And they both said something like really the exact same phrase in it. And they said, getting clients is the easiest part. And I was like, what? I mean, that's the hardest thing for me. I mean, I'm good with operations. I'm good with everything, the management and everything, the production, whatever. But getting clients is really hard. So when they told me that, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it another try. And that's when it all started. I initially hired a VA to kind of, because VAs are great to kind of do like a lot of things. So yeah, I started with VA. She's still with us at the moment, and yeah, from there I was lucky enough to get a few more clients, and yeah, I think that's like an overall summary of how it all happened. And we're still, we don't have many clients at the moment. And actually, I'm working with someone who's helping me with marketing, and yeah, hopefully we'll start growing the agency in the following months.
That's an awesome story. I can definitely relate with you there. When I started, so in 2017, I started my freelancing career. And I think most freelancers, they go to Upwork to find jobs. And so I did that as well. And it's quite frustrating, because Upwork is just very saturated. Like you compete with a lot of people based on how much you charge, really. Because
Yeah.
some people who, I mean, not, I'm not saying that all people are like this, but most people who go to Upwork to find freelancers, they find the most cheap freelancers, because they don't have a budget, which I totally understand, because if you need help and you don't have a budget, you really want to find the cheap option out there. But sometimes it doesn't really work that way, because people with great talents, with enough experience to help you in the business, they charge more than what an inexperienced VA would charge, And so yeah, when I was looking for jobs, through Upwork back in 2017, I was like, oh, this is not really a great platform for me, very saturated. And so I just tried my own outreach, I went to Instagram to find my first client, and then up until now, that client that I contacted on Instagram, which is my first ever client as a freelancer, they are still our client, and we have grown the agency
Wow.
already. Yeah, so they're based out of Canada, and I actually just spoke with him. I had a meeting with that client yesterday, and he was like, "I'm so proud of you," because he was able to see how we have grown. And I'm thankful to that client, because if he did not reply to my Instagram message, and my message back then to him was like, "Hey, are you looking for a virtual assistant? I'm available. I'm looking for this. These are the things that I can do." That was my message to him. So cheesy, so very desperate. But if you do that now, that is not gonna work. People are gonna say, "You're rude, you don't even know me. Why are you selling to me?" Blah blah blah. And so
Yeah.
I owe a lot, you know. I owe that client a lot. But anyway, so you have an agency now, and you have people working for you from different, countries. You mentioned, before we record, you mentioned that you have team members in Venezuela, in the Philippines,
Yeah.
Bulgaria, and also in the United States. So, how were you
Yeah.
able to find those talents, and how does your hiring process look like? Kind of like walk us through your process, and, um, share with us how you made sure that those team members that you've hired are the right fit for your agency.
Yeah. So because the agency is fairly new. We don't have even like a year yet on business, and I honestly don't have like a lot of experience with hiring. But I found that the people that we've brought in, they're all just great, and I think and I think I want to start by saying maybe something that I heard in a podcast a while ago, as like a phrase. I'm not even sure who said it or where I heard it, but it was something like uh, hire slow and fire fast. Um, and I have that in mind all the time when I'm looking for someone to join the team. It's I really take my time. Uh, Probably not reading applications. Looking for experience or anything like that. But I do take my time to interview people and have a conversation with them, and I think that's kind of the main point for me is, if we kind of instantly get along, uh that that's a really good sign, because something that's really important with you when you're working with someone is that you have like aligned values, and that you get along, because experience and like technical skills and everything, that can be learned. So my what I look into someone when I'm hiring is, is this essentially a good person? That's what I want to work with good people, not good people like they're efficient or they're like machines or everything, but they're generally good people that are trying to do their best with anything that they're doing. So uh, of course, the credentials are important. Of course, the experience is important. The right profile, um, and then, but yeah, I would say that the soft skills are the most important thing that I look into someone when I'm hiring. And then also there's a part of hiring that's probably really obvious, but I'm just making it conscious recently, is uh what like defining the role very well, what the role entails. For instance, uh I started, the next, after we got the VA for the agency, the next hire we had was a producer. So the producer for us inside the agency, they take care of the pre-production, and they also assist our clients with recording. So at this point, at that point when I was asking myself, like, well, who is like the right person to fit this role? My first thought was, well, probably someone with someone with a background similar to mine, like a podcast producer who knows editing and who knows like the recording process and everything. And I was looking and interviewing people, and I quickly found out like that was not the right profile for this role. So I ended up switching the mindset to, let's look for journalists and people with writing background, because the pre-production is a really huge part of the role. So let's look for people who are creative and who write well and can take notes, because that's also like a huge thing during the recording sessions. The producers are taking notes, and then all the technical stuff. Again, that's really easy, but you can teach. I mean, I guess you can teach develop maybe creativity, but that's harder, versus understanding like microphones and how microphones work and like drivers and stuff. I can create and actually that's what I did, like create all the documentation for training the producers. And so when I'm looking for a new producer, I look for writers. So right now we have our producer in the US, she's a journalist. And then our producer in Bulgaria, she's what was her title? She's like a theater director. She just graduated from that career. So she's also really creative and knows how to write and knows storytelling and stuff. So defining the role really well, and we're still working on defining some of the roles in the agency. But I think when hiring, that's a key part. What the role looks like. Define the role like really well, and what's the skill set. What are the soft skills? What are the hard skills? And then based on that, you go look for a professional that you think might fit that well.
That is awesome. And I'm kind of the same way. I value character, soft skills more than than technical skills, because like you said, that can easily be learned, and we can teach people how to do that. But their attitude and character, there's just a lot of things that go into that, because that has something to do with a person's upbringing, values, and culture, and a lot of different things. So it's hard to change, you know. And yes, someone with a bad attitude or bad character can can improve, but it will take a while, as compared to learning something new in terms of technical skills. And I
Yeah,
am
and sorry to interrupt you, but I would say it's not only hard to kind of improve for the person, but it's also like, how do you communicate that? It's easier to say like, I don't know,
yeah.
if you need to improve like your editing skills for a podcast or whatever, you say like, hey, you're leaving a bunch of filler words. Let's be mindful of that. But how do it's really hard to approach the bad attitude thing.
Yeah, I
It's harder to
understand.
say like, uh, it's harder. It's harder to bring
Because
up.
I feel like when you are giving feedback towards your team member and your feedback has something to do with the quality of their work, it's very objective because you can say, hey, you edited this podcast and you did not remove this part, it's very there's the background is noisy and you did not remove that, so please fix that, or please fix that, or whatever, next time please you make sure that you remove that. It's very objective. But when it
Yeah.
comes to giving feedback to someone about their behavior, it can be very subjective, because what you see in someone, how they behave, they may not see it the way how you do. To you, you're saying, oh, you're not showing kindness and respect because you you talk back to your supervisor, and that person may say, oh, I didn't, my tone is always like this, I grew up in the big city. Most I feel like most people, based on my observation, I feel like most people who grew up in the bigger cities, they're very fast paced and everything. They're like straightforward very much. And so yeah, I see what you're saying there. Thanks for bringing that up.
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
I am impressed that even though you just started your agency, a year ago, you're able to hire people to help you out in your business. I feel like most business owners, when they start out, they're too afraid to hire, you know, their first team member, because first, they have to make sure that they can pay their team member, and second, they don't want to let go of control. And especially when you're just starting out your business, it's new. It's sort of, for the lack of better term, it's kind of like premature. It's not ripe yet, and there's just a lot of things that are not 100% certain. You may have a strategy this month, but it may change the following month because you're just kind of trying to test out, some strategies that will work for you. Like maybe for your agency, like strategies when it comes to like acquiring new clients, right? So you're probably like testing out something this month, and then the following month it may change, And so what made you decide that it's the right time to hire team members?
Yeah, so there are, I think, like 3 or 4 like key factors. And I think the first one is kind of the most obvious. For me was that I was able to increase my pricing. So that's the first thing I did. I said to my clients, like, hey, I'm going to bring people to the team. That's going to make the process better. There will be more people involved. So that will also mean, better outcomes for you because, with podcast production, especially on the pre-production, there's a creative process. So, more people involved means that there are more conversations and there's more room for new ideas and creativity. So I was thankfully I was able to increase my pricing, and that, I think, it was the first thing that allowed me to hire the amazing people that is working with us right now. The second thing would be, I think, that it wasn't possible for me any other way. I mean, I really needed a team to work with because I am not full time with the agency. I am still, pursuing my medical career, and I'm studying like as much hours as I can. and then I also have a part-time job. So uh, I needed to delegate. There was, I mean, there wasn't an option for me, like that's the way it has to be for me, because other way I wouldn't be able to keep up with all the work that we have to do.
It's like
And
it's like either you delegate or you kill yourself, right?
exactly. Exactly. I
Let's do
mean,
the delegation part.
yeah. Yeah, and so that was because with better pricing, there's also more work and more demanding clients. So I didn't want to risk it to be delayed with projects or something like that. The other thing I would say it's really important is that I essentially transformed my freelance career into a business, like a I transformed my freelance service to an agency. And essentially what that means is that I didn't start from scratch. I have all this experience. I have connections in the industry. I know I have previous clients, and I have a head start versus imagine you start at a podcast production agency tomorrow. You probably, or someone, not specifically you, but that they wouldn't have like that head start in terms of knowing the clients, knowing the process, knowing everything that producing podcasts entails. So yeah, I think that will be like the three key things that allow me to make the decision to look for people to help me with the work that we do
I
for
love
our
that.
clients.
I love the very first thing that you shared. You were able to increase your pricing. A lot of people, they don't want to hire support, regardless if it's a virtual assistant or not. They don't want to hire somebody because they don't have the budget for it. But one strategy, actually, if you really want to hire a team member, is to increase your pricing so that you have enough budget to pay your team member. And I also love what you said about having more people working in your business means more room for conversation and ideas and collaboration. Most of the things that we've implemented in my business, it did not originally come from me. you know Most of my team members, they were the ones who thought of it, because most of them, they have a robust background in the area that they are working in currently. and
Yeah.
just knowing, admitting to ourselves that we are not everything in our business, I think that's a good start when it comes to delegation. And you also said that you were able to transform your freelancing career to an agency, and I think that is also a mindset that most people have. They think that if they are a freelancer, they are just gonna stay that way forever. But I think, I mean, it depends really. I mean, some freelancers, they wanna just be freelancers. They don't wanna own a business. They don't wanna have an agency, because to be honest, starting your own agency is hard. It is hard. It's not for the faint
Yeah.
of heart, and there's just a lot of challenges that go with owning your own business, right? And so, but with you, at the very beginning of starting your business, you had the mindset that, no, I'm not going to stay a freelancer forever. I want to have my own business. So those are really great. So now that you
Yeah,
have team members.
and that's funny that you mentioned that, because I think I really think that I've been so lucky with my journey, because the reason I I wanted to turn the freelance career into an agency is because I want this all this time that I've invested in building this side career. I want it to last when I'm uh, when I'm able to really continue my medical career. So that's kind of the idea behind the not the idea, the motivation behind having an agency is that, because if I stay as a freelancer, then when I'm working at a hospital, I'm not going to be able to uh, have the take anything out of all the 7 years of experience that I have with podcasting. So
Right.
I thought to myself, like, I can't throw all of that in the trash. I really need to make a business out of this, and for it to continue when I don't have the all the time to uh, to work on it. So yeah, that's kind of the motivation for the transition. And then I feel I have been so lucky because it, most of I think most of the important decisions have been like really circumstantial. Like there wasn't like um like a deep thought process behind making some of this decisions. It was just the logical path for
Yeah.
it to work. Is this way or no way?
Yeah.
And then in that sense, it's really hard to be kind of have this entrepreneurial nature, and then also kind of um, pursue this medical career. But now that we're talking about it and that I'm kind of consciously looking at it, I think has also like lay out a very obvious path for me. So yeah, just wanted to share that before we we
Yeah. I mean,
continue with the
I love
conversation.
that. I love that. It's really important that you know where you want your business to go. Having a vision for your business, that's very important, because if you don't have that, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a plan for your business, why start a business? Right? Because you
Yeah,
you are the leader of your business. You have to lead yourself, your business, and your people. So you really got to know what you want to do, after a couple of years. And it sounds like, what you really want. And I think, just knowing what you want and where you want to go, that is that is an important key to success. Like,
yeah,
if other people, they want to be successful, but they don't know what they want. They just want success. Heck, they don't
yeah.
even know
How
what
how
success look like to them.
how
You
does the
know?
sex look like? Yeah, yeah. That's so true. I mean, if you don't have like a clear vision of how success looks like, I think you're just going with inertia, just doing things and see how it goes, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree, having like really specific goals really helps.
Right, right. True. I love it. Okay, my last question for you is, how do you delegate effectively to your team members? You can share, how you do it, your strategy in doing that. You already mentioned earlier, that you have documented, the tasks and everything. And you can share with us, the tools that you're using to delegate or to communicate with your team members, because delegation is not just about assigning a task. You also have to communicate. There's a lot of thing that goes on into delegation also means, becoming a great leader, because you cannot delegate effectively if you're not a great leader, communicator, and so on and so forth. So how do you do that in your agency?
Yeah, so uh let's maybe start to kind of get that out of the way. Let's start with kind of the tools that we use at the agency, because I think sometimes we get into this mindset of what are the best tools and has the best features, and what's the best thing that I could use for growing my agency or my freelance career or whatever. um and I have suffered of this many times. But what what I have discovered is that the tools are just that, they're just tools, and the features are almost irrelevant if you don't have like a clear goal again of what you want to achieve. So what I try to do with our agency is to simplify things as much as possible. So we really use two places to kind of communicate and delegate and do stuff. So we use monday.com to kind of project manage things, and then we use Slack for more emergency communication, and we also have like client communications inside Slack. And yeah, email. Those two things on email is really what we use to kind of for the operation side of it. And then in terms of um, like the actual execution of the task for people, I have to go back to defining the roles. So when I bring someone to the team for the first time, there's of course like a training period, and I think because we're in a position where there's not like a very strict training around any roles really at the moment. But what I'm doing is that I go with I go along with them. So let's say when we brought up a new producer, I describe everything that the whole process, and I asked her like, hey, what are the things that you think you would need like more details about? And I started documenting things. So we have this process in the agency for pre-production where we do discussion guides. So like kind of like a script with all the questions and all the research for the client to know who's the guest and all of that. So I created a document like with rules for that. And also a thing that I like to do because one thing about, again, the hiring process and everything is that I try to of course hire people that are better than me in certain things. So when I'm doing these documents, I ask uh, the person, the team member, I ask them like, hey, take a look at this and feel free to do edits to it. And of course this is our specific situation because we're starting and we don't have like a big team, and we can't do that. But then that's really good because it also comes back to having more space for collaboration and creativity. So team members always have like feedback on, hey, this part is not really clear, can you let's rewrite that, or I think that it's better explained this way, or or this part of the process is better. And so I rely on the team to kind of lay out the processes for us. And then maybe I can also talk about some of the struggles that I have, and I have to go back to the roles because I've been changing roles around for a few months now because and I can give you an example. Like one of the roles that we had up until I think 1 or 2 months ago was in my mind it was a good idea to have like multimedia editors instead of video editors and audio editors. And that was a terrible idea because we have an amazing video editor on the team, and I was expecting her to be an amazing audio editor as well. And so, and even even going even back in time, even more back in time, with the VA, the first VA that I hired, I was also expecting to train her to be an editor, like an amazing editor, and I was expecting, in my mind, she was going to be trained in 2 weeks. Like, I'm gonna give you all these documents, and she has some experience with it. But I'm gonna give you all these documents, all these videos, all this information, and once you go through it all, you'll be a star, an amazing audio editor. And that doesn't work like that. You have to not only have the information, but practice and practice and practice. So I what I've found is that and this is something that I've been talking to the team a lot recently, is that the best way, I think, to kind of make sure that everything is done properly is really thinking about specialized roles. And that's something that we're working also in the agency, because I have the tendency to compart I don't know how to pronounce that word, compart that, to put together like a bunch of responsibility.
Compartmentalization. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly too.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either. So yeah, I just have this tendency to put a lot of responsibilities together in one single role, because in my mind,
Compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize. Yeah, that's the word. Yes.
Thank you, Google.
So in my mind, that's a good idea. But it really isn't. It really isn't, because then you have people that is great doing one thing, and then they get frustrated doing the others, and because they can't figure it out. Or even if there's documentation and stuff, that there are some things that really require experience. So yeah, I mean, going back to defining roles is really important in delegating. Like defining what are the tasks, and then what are the things that this person is going to do, and to be sure that they were going to do it well. So again, I had our VA like doing audio editing, and it wasn't great, so it meant that I had to go over the audio again, and then what's the point of having that task delegated if I have to go all over that again. Then the next step was getting the multimedia editor, and then of course she was better because she had like more experience with production, but again, there was a lot of errors, and the execution wasn't as good as I would have liked to. So again, I had to go all over and produce those episodes again. And then is when I realized, I can't keep doing this. I have to look for people who is really specialized in doing their thing. And so we recently got an audio editor. So now we have a video editor and an audio editor, and this is all just to say that maybe the way I see it is the way I used to see it is that this mindset of the skills can be learned, which is true, and it's all right. But when you're kind of at this point where I'm at, that you need things done quickly,
right?
I can't, at this point, I can't take the luxury of, maybe at some point the multimedia editor role will make sense, because, at some point, maybe we can have like a 6-month training period.
Right. Yeah.
And that would be great. But, right now it wasn't the right decision, to have that role. So yeah, just making sure that the people have like the the right amount of experience to do things at an acceptable level, because again, from this new editor that I got, that we get at the agency, he still have some things that can be improved, but at least the end product is something that I'm comfortable delivering to the client. So yeah, and I'm only just bringing this up because we previously talked about teaching the technical skills and everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a contrast, and finding the balance there is kind of a a thin line, because you expect some results, and maybe it's not realistic if the person still haven't been exposed to enough experience to do that. So kind of the summary is like, yeah, things can be taught, and skills can be learned and everything, but yeah, just slowly. Slowly, it's a process.
Yeah. I love that. And you know what? I love that you have the humility to say that I did, you know, I did a lot of mistakes in the business, and one example was the one you shared, when you were expecting your video editor to also do your audio editing, instead of saying, "Hey, that's her problem because she didn't learn very well or fast enough than I wanted her." So I love that you have that humility that no, it's actually my fault, and it shouldn't work that way. So I love that you have that kind of character in you, because I think most business owners, they don't think that they need to set up their VAs for success. Most of the time they play the blame game, like it didn't work because you didn't do this, blah blah, it didn't work because you didn't do this well. And I think our VAs are only as good as our instructions. And if we don't lead them well, then they're not really going to be successful. And we have to realize that, we are the leader of our business, and it's our responsibility when your team member is not doing the job great, because you have to give that person feedback, and if you give that person so many feedback already and that person is not improving, just like what you said earlier, fire fast, because you can't just waste so much energy into someone that is not in alignment with what you're doing or with what you want for your business to have.
Yeah, I agree on that, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, that's really very rare. And just the fact that your business is like just a year old, and you've delegated immediately, I feel like you are really going to be successful. And the things that you have shared in this podcast, most people who have owned their business for 3 or 5 years, they don't even maybe know what you just shared because they delegated later in their business. So in a way, you might have just started your agency, but the experience that you have acquired, it's sort of at par where other businesses are, other businesses who have been doing business, for more than a year. So congratulations, and I am excited to see where you will be in the next couple of years. And so why don't you tell people where they can find you if they need help with their podcast?
Yeah, thank you, and again, thank you so much for those words. It's really good to kind of have the reaffirmation from outside. That I really appreciate that. Thank you for those
You're
words.
welcome.
Yeah, the name of the agency is Circle Audio, and you can find us at circleaudio.productions. We still don't have uh, any social media going on, but you can.
That's your next hire, a social media manager.
Yeah, we actually are trying to kind of have work on social media. We started a podcast as well, that I would love you to come, by the way, because the podcast is interviews for content creators, podcasters specifically. Um, so yeah, we're building like the whole social media strategy around the podcast, but we are still working on it, because we have kind of the more immediate like email marketing things that to take care of, to kind of have the budget to really put in the effort to the podcast. um so yeah, but it would be only the website right now, and you can feel free to also add me in LinkedIn. uh I can share a link later to put on the show notes. And yeah, you can email me as well, alejandro@circleaudio.productions. And yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about content strategy with any business owner out there that wants to have a podcast, or if they have a podcast already. um yeah, yeah, I think those will be the three places: the website, LinkedIn, and email.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having this space, and for having me on. I really enjoyed the talk, and yeah, it was a wonderful conversation,